People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in. I hope you're all doing well and safe. Couple of Arsenal rumours to discuss, the same old topics and the same old things, but we've got nothing else to lose. Before I begin, I'd like to thank everybody so far who's voted for me in the Football Content Awards to the point where I was a finalist, and obviously now, we made the shortlist and now we're a finalist, so it's time to get over the line. So if you voted, I'm going to need you to vote again. If you voted again, thank you very much. The links are all in the description. It takes 30 seconds of your time. I've got 20-odd thousand subscribers. If you all voted, we'd walk away with it, and that would probably be the single biggest achievement ever created by myself or created in general. I think that would be better than Man United's treble. That'd be better than the sextuple Pep Guardiola did, better than the Invincibles, better than this Liverpool team. I'm not naive enough to believe everybody would vote, but even if half would vote, you know, even if a quarter, you know, how far can we go? I don't expect to win, but honestly, how far we could go, man. We've come from humble beginnings. We built a good little cult following here, with myself included, with you guys, so let's see how it could go, man. So yeah, links are in the description. Can vote on Twitter, can vote on Instagram, can vote on their main webpage, can vote across it all. Just make sure you get voting, people. But cracking on to the bulk of this video, as you lot know, it's a techie summer for most clubs. It's a techie summer for Arsenal. Unless you work for the club, you don't know if we have money, if we don't. There's plenty of cases to be said for Arsenal have more money than they believe. There's plenty of reasons to be said, you know, whether it's the wage budget, whether it's a lack of Champions League, all of these things to have no money. So we're not gonna we're gonna have to see what happens. And even if Arsenal do have money, we're gonna have to be creative in the market. I wish I was Chelsea and we could sign Ziyech and Werner and not talk about money, but it is what it is. Charles Watts, an Arsenal writer, has gone on to say, Arsenal are currently working towards different transfer scenarios. It's unlikely they will know which one they will follow until they play their final game of the campaign and find out whether they'll be playing European football next season and what competition. Obviously, if we get the Champions League, we could probably spend a bit more. If, as anticipated, we're going to get Europa League or even finish out the Europa League, we have to see financially how that impacts us. So that's not anything necessarily new. That's what the club should be doing already. That's what we should be told. Obviously, Arsenal will still be able to attract players. It's Arsenal at the end of the day. You get people in the room, but when you look beyond the bulk of that, what is there to tempt people? When we was underachieving or just not achieving at all, we had the Champions League carrot. Obviously, we've still signed Aubameyang, still signed Lacazette, still signed all these decent players without Champions League football. But the more we become less competitive, the more we're having to rely on the historical ties that are Arsenal, and the less people want to sign for us. Because I'm sure, you know, Arsenal. Let's banter aside. Arsenal might not be the biggest proposition, but if you're a decent footballer, you will listen to what Arsenal have to say. It's a big club, historical big club. You know, if I'm a footballer, if Arsenal bid for me, I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna say, you know, Arsenal. I remember Thierry Henry and all these guys, big club, let me see what they got to say. Arteta, he's a new manager, he's someone I could believe in, he might even convince me and things like that. But when I look past that, what attraction is there? Now I might say, you know what, this is enough for me to sign for Arsenal, but if there's another team where, you know, and obviously as a player you've got to consider living in London and the lifestyle, I might say, yeah, you know what, I'm on this Arsenal thing, I'm down for this. But let's just say we're linked, let's just say Chelsea are now in for it. Similar, obviously they've won bigger titles than us more recently, but you know, London, you know, Champions League winners, Chelsea have been doing their thing. What's going to tempt me to sign for Chelsea over Arsenal? I'm going to say, you know what, and similar, Lampard project, buy into his project. What's going to tip me? I might be like, yo, in an idea, let's say make-believe world, because Chelsea might not even get champs. Like, they're playing champs. I want to play champs. That's my thing. That's what I'm going to go on. Now, there could be plenty of reason for, in the flip scenario of, you know, you haven't got champs, but you still want to sign for Arsenal. But 9 times out of 10 players probably lean to the other side. So, yeah. And if we can't offer mad, it's sad, but if we can't offer mad finances wage-wise, if we can't offer Champions League football, then you're just over-reliant on players to be convinced between historically what Arsenal was and, pardon me, to a degree, Arteta, really and truly, because you're looking at where's the pool sort of thing. We're always going to be able to attract players, but it's going to get different. Charles went on to say as well, people, Arteta's priority is to bring in at least one centre-back, a box-to-box midfielder and a right-back. A striker is also viewed as key should either of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang or Lacazette leave. Now, you'd imagine there's a case for both to stay, there's a case for both to be sold, there's a case for one to go, either or. So there's many different scenarios. So the club probably are going to react in different ways. You know, it depends how we look at this. If we're going to say, do you know what, Aubameyang shown no commitment to sign a new deal, we're going to move him on and partner him with someone, we've got to be able to react to that. The club might turn around and say, do you know what, we're going to sign a centre-half, we're going to sign a midfielder. We're going to address all the areas that Arteta wants, you know. We're going to fix up, give him a side to really work with. We're going to keep Aubameyang, and we're going to try and get top 4. Now, if we can get top 4 and convince him to stay and not leave on the free, great. But if he leaves on the free, having got us in the Champions League, then we might concede, you know what, it is what it is. We bought him to bring us back in the champs. He's been a great signing, and he's been worth it, because as you lot know, unless it's young players, resale value isn't really a thing now. Free transfers are becoming a thing. Or equally, it could be we sell Aubameyang, we buy in the next man, and we're reliant on the next man, Lacazette and Eddie and Nketiah sort of thing. Or we say, you know what, both are going, which I think is unlikely that Arsenal will sit up and say Aubameyang and Lacazette are going, because who are they going to bring in? And if I'm, you know, any of the young strikers we've been linked with, if I see Arsenal sell Aubameyang and Lacazette, you're going to know that Arsenal are desperate. They're going to need to get a striker in. So I might have been quoting them 40 million. I might now say 50. And then, you know what, if you don't pay that 50, I've still got a striker. People might be on him a year from now. The Dembeles, the Baidus, all of these guys. Or you might have to overpay. So I do think, I'm not going to lie, I'm probably more comfortable with Lacazette going than Aubameyang, because of what, no disrespect, because Lacazette's a great player, even with his form, but I just feel you can't underestimate what it feels like to have a striker to the level Aubameyang is, where he's getting, I keep saying, even though he scores more, 20 league goals minimum, nobody's outscored him, forgive me if I'm wrong, since he's joined. He's banging at one point, he was a super sub under Emre, 1 minute he's playing through the middle, then he's on the flanks, he's still scoring. As much as I like Lacazette, I do think if Lacazette was to go, I think Aubameyang could shoulder the goal scoring burden. I think we'd be in problems relying on Lacazette and our wide men. That's another scenario as well, to actually bring in an inside forward. So we're going to have to see what's going to happen. I want us to bring in a box-to-box midfielder. Hopefully we'll get onto it, but that's Partey. I also think we need a deep line sort of guy, someone like Szoboszlai, but can we get the money for both? I don't think so. I think we need a centre-half, because I don't think our centre-halves are terrible when you look at them one by one, but there's not one outstanding candidate. It's probably David Luiz, because of his form sort of thing, people. And I think, you know, there's too much quantity, there's not enough quality. So if we can get someone that's, you know, mid-20s, not necessarily the biggest of profiles, ready to hit the ground running, great. If we go for another young man and we're going to partner them with Saliba when the time comes, great. But I just want to be able to look at the defence, you know, the two centre-halves, you know, Bellerin fit, Tierney, Leno behind them, with what Arteta's implementing, and say, yo, listen, cool, we finally got a back five, including the keeper, real solid stuff, and you can build from there. Then the midfield can come into it and the strikers, but you need the spine to be good. And then if we're all defending from the front and all attacking from the back, every attack starts with Leno, every defensive move starts with the strikers with Aubameyang. That's the mentality I want to see, people, really and truly, because there's not really, for me, there's not a glaringly good centre half. I like Holding, but there's a case to just sell Holding, loan out Holding, all these things. I like Chambers, but with his injury at hand, and obviously the same things for me, Holding apply. Mustafi's been decent. Is he going to do this a year from now? I don't know. Case to be said with being sold. Socrates, David Luiz. David Luiz for me is first choice, but again, he's 33. Are we playing a dangerous game, not trying to rebuild for the future? Obviously, you need experience, and Luiz is there. My thing is, if you make him a key part of the team, what happens when he goes? Because we learned this with Koscielny. We're relying on Koscielny when he got past 30, where we really shouldn't, even with these injuries he had. When we're seeing a difference, we should be addressing that. So I think with Saliba and someone else, I think for me, on paper, it would be David Luiz, Saliba for me. If a new centre-half comes in that flips the debate, I think Marie should be made permanently and we keep him, especially if David Luiz leaves, because Marie would be someone I'm looking to give some decent amount of football. I want to see his level. In relation to a right-back, it's easy to see why. Obviously, that we're hoping Bellerin stays fit, resurgent under Arteta. We can get a real good partnership between Pepe and Bellerin going down that flank. But on the other hand, if Bellerin's not there, he's injured, he's sold or whatever, who plays there? Maitland-Niles clearly doesn't fancy it, even though that could be a role for him and a role where he could make his own and stuff. For whatever reason, he don't want to make that his own, so it seems his days here are numbered. So he's going to have to keep it moving. Cedric Suarez, I think he's staying permanently, but again, the club might say, you know what, let's move him on, because he ain't played, he ain't whatever. He joined on loan, his contract is up in Southampton. If we ain't got money or whatever, you could easily see us signing him and using funds we would have saved elsewhere. And this is probably an audition for him. We've obviously spoken about in a long vid, but you've got Osei Tutu, who's been playing right wing on loan. He's a fullback by trade. He could have a say, you know, pre-season. He probably deserves a chance under Arteta if he convinces him it's the next thing. You've got Zach Swanson, who can play at centre-half, left-back and right-back. for what he's trained with the first team, he might not be fancied. He's done a good job against Sane for the under-23s, really. He's been a consistent member. He might get a look in, he might not. So it seems that right back is an area up for grabs. Left back, a decision needs to be made as well over a couple of them, because Tierney and Saka can put in a shift there. Kolasinac is contracted until 2022, so something's got to be done in that regards, people. Moving away from that, Charles Watts went on to say, speaking of right backs, Max Aarons is a player Arsenal have admired for some time, but he is likely to prove too expensive even if his club are relegated. It's far more likely Arsenal will look to sign Cedric Suarez on a permanent, or look to promote Jordi or say Tutu. Now, Max Aarons is probably 40-50 million, and if Norwich go down, he'll force his hand, but there's no force for Norwich to sell him. You'd imagine him and Cantwell and Godfrey and Lewis, these guys will get moves, or people will want them, Buendia as well, but you'd have to see what would happen. Charles Watts also went on to kind of talk about the same thing of the strikers that Arsenal are watching if one of ours does leave. He spoke about Dembele of Lyon, Jonathan David of Gent, and obviously Odegaard of Celtic, so I'm not going to go over that. He spoke about free signings as well, people. He said free transfer options would be even more appealing, and he then spoke about, the Suarez one, and spoke about Kozawa and Fraser. And obviously he didn't, but, Fraser and Willian are going to be thrown into that mix as well. There's more talk on Orkan Kuku, who's been linked with Arsenal at £23 million and seen as an Ozil long-term replacement. Obviously, as you know, we're lining up a move for him. Apparently, Arteta is impressed by his versatility, and the club is ready to make a move, especially if they succeed in landing a place in the Champions League. That was by the Mirror. The AFC Bell on Twitter said a deal for Kuku is not imminent as per two sources close to the player. If a deal was to happen, it would be heavily based on incentives, bonuses, etc. And there could be a sell-on clause inserted to reduce the overall fee. So similar to Pepe and Torreira's, we might say we'll pay more than this 20 odd, but we'll do it over a longer period of time with more bonuses. If he plays 50 games, you get a mil. If he scores this much, if he makes his debut for international, if he gets team of the year, all these sort of football manager clauses for people. If Arsenal win trophies, that doesn't necessarily affect Kuku, we get that. Obviously resale value, and that ties in with what Arsenal's doing, really and truly. So we'll have to see what happens in that regards. Now, if you look at all the reports, Thomas Partey appears an Arsenal player in all but name. I mean, Jordan, I don't know how valid his claims are, but Jordan M. Choo on Twitter or something has said, Partey has agreed personal terms with Arsenal. Arsenal are now negotiating with Atletico over a deal. Apparently, Charles Watts went on to echo that and say, Arsenal want to sign Atletico midfielder Thomas Partey, who has a 44 million release clause, and is believed to be keen on the move to England. Partey has yet to sign a new contract offered to him and is waiting to see how the window unfolds, the summer window unfolds. So he's keeping all his cards close to his chest. I haven't got the Twitter handle, but someone said we can exclusively confirm that Partey in the next few days will make his decision clear as he prepares to move to England. Arsenal are not giving up on signing the player and only have to cough up the money. Charles Watts went on to say, even if Arsenal don't qualify for Champions League, they will still look to sign Partey and could try and tempt Atletico into a swap deal with Diego Simeone, a long-term admirer of Lacazette. I don't think they will do that. I think they like Lacazette, but the finances, not that Arsenal the fee for Lacazette, but the finances for Lacazette doesn't make sense based on the financial health you're told about Atletico and the situation they're in need of. So we'll have to see what happens in that regards. Finally, unrelated by transfers, our striker Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang said in relation to Project Restart, everyone is happy to be back at training with our mates. Now we're just waiting for the referee's whistle to start the Premier League again. I'm ready to start scoring goals and have some celebrations, but I won't be able to hug my teammates, so I'll just do some dancing stuff if I score. And that's light-hearted from him, and we're all keen to see him back. And unrelated to this, but on on Bellerin's actual channel, Bellerin has a good little YouTube channel where he's speaking with Yedlin about Black Lives Matter, and it was really interesting. Also on Arsenal's official YouTube thing, the three amigos, Torreira, Martinelli, and obviously Martinez, almost got tongue-tied there. The three South Americans are speaking, and it's more of the same. We know Arteta's been keeping in constant contact, been trying to help people, been doing video analysis, but it was nice to hear them echo it. Like Martinelli said, he was asked to watch the Olympiacos game again and stuff like that, so it's good to see, man. And from what you're told, Arsenal look fit, look sharp and all of these things. I don't really care about none of that because I want to see all of this come kick off against City, or it means nothing really, but we'll have to see. Either way, it's been lovely speaking with you guys and stuff, but I'm going to have to keep it moving. People, please stay blessed. DG I'm out.